there. Okay, I can. Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. I mean, a lot, just a day. A
I know,
day.
right? I know.
Like, a lot, but nothing. I don't know.
It's like
Um,
that. It's like that all the time, especially when you have kids. It's always something going on. I mean, I don't know what's going on in your household, but yeah, it's always some. I just left my daughter's gymnastics class, and and obviously doing this, and then got stuff to do after this. So
exactly,
yeah, it's
exactly.
always
No.
something going on.
Yeah, I know it's so funny because I do this, and so I get a lot of folks saying like, "Oh, you look so busy." And I'm like, I mean, not I am. I mean, I
Right.
have a job, I have a family and I have two kids and um
What do you do for
but
work? I don't think
what
you ever told me. What do you do for work?
I'm an account manager.
Okay.
Yeah, with a company called ATI.
Okay.
So they're like a health technology company, healthcare technology company. Yeah. But I mean, like you, probably similar, like a lot of my time is dedicated to making sure my kids are getting where they need to go,
Right.
And
Yep.
of course, I make room for myself. I've learned to do that. So I
Right.
have to do that.
That's
But
something I struggle with. We can get into this later, but I was battling depression early this year. And so that's one thing that somebody brought up to me. As a parent, we just instinctively make sacrifices and dedicate our time to our kids. And somebody had to point out to me that you really have to take time for yourself. And, I go in daddy mode, it's instinctual. I can't help it. Um, but once they said that to me, I realized I was like, hey, I really don't take time for myself. Like I really don't. And that's something I struggle with. Um, because I'm so focused, I got my daughter's my one and only. And so I'm so focused on what she needs and being there for her and I'm always, how does this affect her? There's certain places I don't go because it's like I got to make sure I make it home for her.
right.
Even the night she's with her mom, we split the week in half because we live in separate households.
Yeah.
Um, but even the night she's with her mom and I got a free night, I still have to make sure that I come home. So it's just, but sometimes I take that too far, and like I said, sometimes I don't do anything for myself. Sometimes I'm so focused on her and being there for her. But somebody reminded me, they said you have got to take time for yourself. You
Yeah.
got to take care of yourself. You got to be the
Yeah.
best version of yourself for your kids. And so,
Do you
you
want her
know,
to do that for herself?
well, yeah,
When and something struck me, and yeah, we can totally get on, I'm sure we will, but um just the cool thing about that now is because I can relate to that of, well, I don't go do certain things, but I'm still me. I
right,
still have an adventurous spirit. I still want to try new things, and I want my kids to be open to trying new things. So now the difference is I'm choosing where I'm going to go, where I'm going to spend my extra time at. And it's
right.
different than what I chose prior to having, two kids, even
Oh, for sure.
prior to figure out who I was as a mother, as a
Right,
parent,
right.
but so that's kind of how I look at it. Is now I was like, oh, okay, so I can still be me, but I get to just choose, okay, I'll go, I'll go to a concert, or
Right.
I'll connect with people like this,
Right.
so finding different ways to, yeah, just take that time and explore a little bit. But yeah, so that's important to do as a parent. We'll definitely get on that. But I want you to, maybe we'll start, I always just start off by letting people introduce themselves. So I'll let
Yeah.
you just do that.
Okay. So this is how I do this, right? I've been interviewed on a lot of podcasts and stuff, and my tagline, right, is Father Realtor Entrepreneur, LoRay Easterwood, Father Realtor Entrepreneur. And so that's essentially me in a nutshell. You met my daughter, you know my daughter, she's my world, she's my life. She came into my life 8 years ago. I didn't want kids until she came around. And like I said, she just turned my world upside down. She completely took over. I mean, you come to our place and you'll see she's got toys and stuff all in every single room. I tell people all the time, this is her place. I just pay the bills. This is her place. So, but yeah, no, being a dad, she's the greatest kid in the world. I couldn't ask for a better kid. I couldn't ask for a better daughter. Being a dad, I naturally wanted a boy, of course. And so I was kind of disappointed when I went to that sonogram and they said it was a girl. I remember being disappointed and talking to my mom about it, but I wouldn't trade her for anything in the world. God knew what he was doing when he placed her in my life, and so so glad I was wrong about that. But she makes fatherhood enjoyable. So she's like I said, she's my absolute world. So that's the number one thing I'm most that I identify with is I just truly and speaking of that, I have a YouTube channel as well. So I would love for people to, go subscribe to that. You too. It's called Fridays for Fathers. I had a series on there called Fridays for Fathers where I interview different dads and stuff like that. And so there's a community of fathers who
Mm-hmm.
are just like it's I don't know if we really want to get into all this because I could spend days talking about this, but just briefly, even in my own experiences of where dads feel unappreciated, there's a lot of
Yeah.
fathers feel unappreciated, and so I got some positive responses. I mean, I got men fathers that send me long messages on my videos sharing their stories and their challenges with their the mother of their children and all that kind of stuff. And so it really touched a lot of people. I didn't anticipate that, but I felt it was needed. I still feel like it's needed. I just, I'm so busy in real estate, I haven't had time to get back to it, but I will. But yeah, follow my YouTube channel, subscribe on there, check out that series. It's a dope series. Then obviously my career, real estate, that's what I do. I got my broker's license in real estate, which is just like a higher certification of a real estate agent. You got to go through additional training. You have to have a certain amount of years of experience, certain amount of transactions of experience. So I'm a broker licensed real estate agent. The TV show,
Yeah.
the national TV show I just signed up with. So super excited about that. A lot of people are geeked about that. We actually filmed our first episode a couple of weeks ago, and I believe it will air in a couple of weeks, sometime this
Okay.
month. Yeah, so it's gonna be on cable and streaming, of course, in a lot of places. So super excited about that. Can't talk enough about that. And then entrepreneur. I actually host a local radio show. I don't know if I mentioned that to you before or not.
Yeah. Lunch Squad, is
The
that?
Lunch Squad, yeah. The Lunch
Yeah.
Squad. Yeah, it's on 100.1 FM. We do it on Fridays. It's live, recorded live on 100.1 FM. And then we do record it and we podcast it later. So it's a podcast as well. So you can find that podcast or search the Lunch Squad. It's on whatever your chosen platform is, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify. So I do that. Entrepreneur in me is just I'm always looking for something to do. So something to get into. What's that next thing? What's that next
Yeah.
challenge? That kind of stuff. I'm just one of those people that are just multifaceted. And then obviously, like I said, the TV show. I got the TV commercials on Channel 5, Channel 9. There's other TV opportunities that are coming my way. I'm actually developing my own real estate TV show on top of the Emmy nominated show I just joined. So it's got a lot going on, a
Gonna
lot of
see you
exciting
on
things.
Netflix. Come
Huh?
on.
Hey, maybe. Hey, that might be the
Throw
move. I
it
don't know. That
in,
might be the
okay?
move. We'll see. We'll see. I got a lot of exciting things going on though. So it's just crazy. It's crazy what's going on.
Um, okay, so thank you for sharing that and giving just a little bit about, I know you have that in your, in your bio, your motivation, and even in your interview that you had recently, you had your daughter there, but to hear it from you and just to hear kind of, you know, your words on it,
Yeah.
is nice. And I'm curious, I always like to ask people too, where did you grow up? Are you from
I'm
the
from
Kansas metro area,
Yep.
or?
Yeah, I'm from Wyandotte. I'm from the Kansas side.
okay.
I'm from Wyandotte. Yep. Grew up on 10th
Too.
Street in
All over
Wyandotte.
a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Grew up on 10th Street, in Conduro and
Yeah.
KCK. People from there know where that is. So grew up in Wyandotte. So yeah,
So
born
good,
and
good
raised.
you can go over there.
All that, yeah, yeah. Born and
So
raised right
I
across the street from
graduated
Parkville
from
Park.
JC Harmon.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
Oh,
went,
nice.
well, we moved around a lot. So that's
Yeah,
kind of the theme of my life. We moved around
yeah.
a lot. But so I went to two different high schools, but I went to elementary school in KCK. I lived in KCK even though I went to school outside the district for a
Okay.
while.
Yeah.
So but I ended up graduating from Harmon.
Okay.
And so
Did you play sports or anything there?
I did. I ran cross country and track, and I
Oh,
did
nice.
theater.
Yeah, I did cross country too.
Um,
I graduated from Sumner.
so
So I graduated from Sumner Academy,
okay.
and I did cross country there as well. Yep.
Yeah. It was actually a great move for me. I don't know. I talk about this. I went to Shawnee Mission North my first 2 years,
Mhm.
and I had been in that school district for since about sixth grade.
Mhm.
And for reasons that had nothing to do with the school district or anything else, I just didn't do very well
Right.
and over time,
Right.
and ended up mom moved me actually. Well, there was a few reasons. They found out we were living outside the school district.
Got caught.
And then
Got caught.
you guys like, come on, guys, like this is crazy. Like, just trying to get an education here. But
Yeah.
so there was that. But then also I was hanging out with I don't know, my mom didn't really like what was happening
Yeah.
with me. So moved out. She moved me outside of the school district, and I ended up going to Harmon
Right.
and started there my 10th grade year. And honestly, it was such a refreshing change
What
for
was it? What
me.
was it about going to Harmon that was appealing to you or that made things work for you?
I think for the first time I felt like teachers were interested in my growth as a
Okay.
person.
Okay.
There were
Nice.
a few teachers there and coaches.
Right.
And just the fact that I was interested in doing activities, which I was at North too, but there was so much competition. Everybody was interested in doing
Yep.
activities.
Yep.
And at Harmon, at that time, like you know, families are busy,
Mm.
and sometimes the focus isn't always on getting your kid to an activity.
Right.
So a lot of times that has to be like the kid's motivation, or if you have parents who are encouraging you to get involved in anything, it doesn't matter what it is, then that's good. But I think at that time, there was a lot of kids interested, but I don't know, it was a smaller school too. There was a smaller like group of kids.
Mm.
North had like 600 kids in my class or something like that, compared
Mm.
to, I think at Harmon it was like 300 or 400 something, so it was different. But yeah, I did feel like the teachers took an interest in just me as a person.
Mm.
So that for the first time I was like, oh, okay, I guess I felt smart. I felt, yeah, like I had some skill to offer,
Yeah. Yeah, for
so
sure. So they
yeah,
gave you some confidence.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what's your ethnic background?
Okay.
Because you
I
got one of those
love that you
mysterious
asked this
looks. You know what
question
I
and
mean?
then it's back to me. No, just like,
Yeah, no, because you got one of those mysterious looks. So,
yeah, I get that a lot. So my dad's Puerto Rican,
okay.
and then my mom is it's kind of hard to explain. I'm Spanish, she's Mexican. So my grandma is from Monterrey, Mexico,
Mm.
and then my grandpa is from like a part of Mexico that turned into Texas. And
Oh, wow.
anyways, so I just say I'm a Latin mutt basically. And but then
Little bit of
my
everything.
yeah, and that was hard for me at Harmon. I will say the reverse at
That's
North.
why I was asking that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really hard. I went to elementary school too, like at John Fisk, and I went to the all year round school, New Stanley.
Mhm.
And I had a hard time. I had a
Mhm.
really hard time because I wasn't Hispanic enough, I wasn't Latin enough.
Mm.
And then in North, I felt like I didn't fit in other ways for other
Right.
reasons.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I felt kind of a little bit pulled back and forth and really didn't quite know how to just be myself
Right.
and not really care what other people thought.
Got
So,
you. I
which
feel
is
you.
hard to do at that age, you know.
Right.
So,
Right.
but okay, so back to you. So you went
Yeah.
to you went to Sumner
Yep.
and you graduated, I'm guessing there. Did you always know you wanted to get into real estate?
No. 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 So coming out of high school, you know, so a struggle that a lot of kids have, right, is coming out of high school. You hear this kind of like blueprint to life, which is you graduate, you go to college, you get you 9 to 5, you get married, you have kids, like just like this blueprint that they tell you. But I always felt like I didn't want to be a part of that rat race. I did what I felt like I had to do and what I was told to do because I didn't know any other way. And until I experienced life. And like I said, what changed me was my daughter coming. My daughter changed my mentality, changed how I view things. I started thinking more long term versus I just want to go to work because that's what you're supposed to do, or I got bills to pay, so I'll go to work to pay my bills. It, I lived most of my life thinking that until my daughter came, and like I said, I just looked at life differently. I don't want to be. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a stable, regular job. So I hope nobody takes offense to what I'm about to
Yeah.
say. But I wanted more freedom.
For
When my
you,
daughter
yeah.
came, I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to. You see how active I am and how I volunteer at the school and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted the flexibility to be able to be at anything she needed me to be at. So I'm talking about doctor's appointments. I'm talking about dentist appointments. I'm talking about obviously all her activities, being able to volunteer at her school. So I started thinking shortly after she was born, I started realizing I hated not being able to be somewhere I needed to be at. And so I started thinking, what can I do? What kind of career can I have that allow me that flexibility? Obviously, still, of course, we all want to make good money. Of course,
Yeah, we all want to have a living too. I
for
mean,
sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can I do to take care of me financially, and her, more importantly, financially, for her future, but then also give me the flexibility to where I can be wherever I need to be and basically work for myself and have my work my own schedule. And so there was this guy that came in. I used to work at Sprint in one of
Okay.
the stores. Of course it's not Sprint anymore, it's T-Mobile, but back then it was Sprint. And I used to
Yeah.
work for their stores selling phones, and this guy came in for work on his phone. He was a real estate agent. And so I was like, hey, tell me a little bit about, being in real estate. And so he was super energetic, and, he was like, man, it's the best move he ever made, and, all that kind of stuff. And I just remember talking to him. Long story short, I got fired from Sprint not too long after that. And so, of course,
Is
you
that funny? You probably
yeah,
pretty bummed out that you got fired, I bet at
exactly,
that
for
time.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you know?
You know what? I was bummed out, but the crazy thing is I already had one foot out the door. Like I had been working at Sprint for years, and it kind of had ran its course. Like I felt like I
Mhm.
was like I can't advance. I'm just kind of stuck. That's what I felt like. I was stuck. And so once I got fired, it was kind of a relief in a way. It was because I knew I wanted to do something different. I just didn't have the guts to do anything different. So you get
Right.
fired. Now it's like, okay, now I have to make something
You could
happen.
see that as an opportunity
Exactly.
versus,
That's exactly what it was. It
yeah.
became, yeah, you got that part, obviously, where you're like, what the hell am I going to do now? I got a
Yeah.
1-year-old daughter. I got to, I got to support. So I got to figure something out, but I don't want to go back and live in that retail life or that, corporate life or whatever.
Corporate. Yeah.
So that guy popped in my head. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey, I think I want to try this real estate thing. And so grateful for him. And he was like, here's what you got to do. And, I was like, but I'm so scared. I mean, it's, to do real estate is such a drastic change from how you normally work, right? Completely different mindset. I mean, it's just a whole nother world. And I tell people that all the time. Of course, I get a lot of people reach out to me. Hey, I want to get my real estate license. I'm like, hey, this is not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Trust This is not, I don't care about the images you see, the shows you watch. This is not what you think it is. But yeah, it really is. Real estate is a rough, being self-employed, period, but especially specifically real estate is a rough field to be in. I've almost
Well,
quit
there's a
a couple
lot
times.
in the market that is out of your control.
Exactly. Oh, for sure.
So,
A ton. Yeah. And I mean, and you can literally, which I have, I've had periods. You can go months without any income. I'm talking like long, like 6, 7 months without any income. And I've had that happen numerous times in my career. You have to be mentally
That,
prepared.
yeah,
It's tough. It's
yeah.
absolutely tough.
And be a person, it sounds like, that is able to plan with what you have for the long term.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. That and yeah, but it's mentally too. I mean, to not get paid, but you're still working, you're still doing activities. So I mean, imagine anybody going to their whatever their 9 to 5 is, going to their job and working for literally for 2 or 3 months straight, doing your normal job activities, getting there on time, leaving at the time,
And just
doing
not
everything
getting a
you do,
paycheck.
and not getting a paycheck for
Yeah.
months. Imagine
Yeah.
doing that. That's what real estate is like sometimes. So it's mentally it jacks you up because you're like, I'm doing all the work, I'm doing this, I'm talking to people, and things just keep falling apart, but I'm not getting paid.
I feel
Bills
like
are still
realtors
coming.
could be like comedians.
Huh? You said
Because
what?
that's what you do is you go to like all these open mics and you
Yeah.
literally, you don't get paid.
Yep.
Most of the time you're paying for a
Yep.
drink or food or
Exactly.
something. So you're paying to go do the thing you want to do, like,
That's a
and try.
that's a that's an amazing point you just pointed out, which is like I said, you're still as real estate, you're not making money, but bills are still coming. And like I said, we're paying for a lot of these activities. So you're paying money and nothing's coming in. So your expenses and everything just keeps growing, mounting, but nothing's coming in. It's mentally, it jacks you up. Mentally, it jacks you up. And so but I kind of knew that idea going into it. So when I talked to that guy, reached out to that guy, going back to when I got started, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
scared. I'm literally scared to do this. Like, this is a huge risk. But he said, sometimes something very profound he told me. He said, sometimes you just have to take that first step. And you never know where that first step will lead you, but you'll never get there if you don't take that first step. And so literally right after that conversation, I took that first step. He said, go to this class. I went to that class, and I mean, rest is history. I'm here
Yeah.
and I'm on
Yeah.
TV.
So that, I mean, kind of a couple things struck me when you introduced yourself
Yeah.
and when you're telling me about the story of meeting the guy. And
Yep.
the first thing um, is that, and it's something I could relate to as well, that my oldest child, she's 12, did for my life. But you talked about, even just a few months ago, struggling with depression, and
Yep.
that happens. I didn't realize this, but I realized it today. September is National like Suicide Prevention Month. So that's a
Oh,
great time.
wow.
I didn't realize that, but I saw that today on somebody's thing. And so yeah. And before I had my daughter, I just felt kind of like out in the wilderness. Like, I had kind of exhausted all of my plans for myself and burned those bridges, and not really, I didn't really get to where I thought I would eventually start getting myself at,
Right. Right.
and then I wasn't expecting to have a child either,
Right.
it wasn't part of my life plan
Right.
for quite some time. It
Right.
wasn't something that I wasn't like a little girl who was like playing with dolls and like, I want to be a mom. I always saw myself kind of as a career woman. I think I got that from my mom, because my mom had that mentality. And but right before I like really before I got pregnant with my daughter, I was in a pretty low place and pretty depressed and having really just dark, like sad thoughts, and she I mean, just having that purpose, it took me some time to think
Yeah.
about it. It
Yeah.
took me a little bit of time to process. I even told my family, like, hey, I don't really want you to react to this, good or bad, 'cause I just need to process it. Like, you know, so, but through that, I found so much light, from my family, and I saw all the support I had. And then I just had like this new motivation, um, for life. And did you feel kind of, have you struggled, did you struggle with depression before your daughter as well? Because it still creeps it, like, or anything like that, or.
No, I didn't know. No, but before she came, I hadn't experienced what I just went through a few months ago. I had never experienced anything like that before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I never had that just that lack of confidence and that feeling of worthlessness and that darkness and that sadness and that loneliness that was around. I've never felt it to that level. I've experienced, you experience those things here and there, but never the way it just all accumulated in one huge shot. It was a shock to the system. It really broke me down. Pretty bad. It felt like I don't know what your experience was like, but looking back on it, it felt like it was literally like I didn't recognize myself, you know.
Mhm.
Um, it's almost like those dreams you have where you're watching yourself, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and you really don't like you can see what's going on, you can kind of feel what's going on, but you have no control over what's going on. It was really kind of like an alternate universe, kind of sort of like I could feel what was happening to me, but I had no control over it, and it was scary. It was literally,
Yeah.
I was literally scared, literally
Yeah.
scared,
Mhm.
to face the day. Like I woke up scared to face the day. When the night came, I was scared with the night come because I knew what came with that darkness. I was in literal darkness and figurative darkness. Um, man, just oh, I get chills just thinking about where I was, how broken down I was mentally. I had to do, especially, so this is something that doesn't get, I think it's starting to get discussed more, but going back to being a dad and being a
Mhm.
man in particular. So men, we process things differently, right?
Right.
I actually had on the radio show, I had a friend of mine come on there. So he's a father. He's survived multiple heart transplants, and
Mm.
he's had suffered from multiple strokes, and he's attempted to commit suicide multiple times. And so I had him come on to talk about mental health.
Mhm.
And and so, like I said, he was a perfect guy that popped in my head because of all the stuff he had battled. I think there was one time he was in the hospital for like 200 something days in a row from one of his heart complications, stuff like that. So the guy has been through a lot, as you can imagine. And so we were talking about that. We just talk about mental health awareness and how we process things. We're to be vulnerable in our minds and how society has taught us that that's a sign of weakness. You
Yeah.
know, to show emotion is a sign of weakness. So we hold in so much stuff. We internalize so much stuff because we don't want to be seen as weak. We don't want to be seen, um, less masculine or anything
Right.
like that. And so we internalize a lot of stuff, but then it ends up manifesting itself in other ways, right?
Right. I was gonna say, but then it
Yeah,
comes out because your body literally is, we're physical being. It can
yeah.
only hold so much,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So
yeah.
holding all that in, it like I said, it manifests in other ways. Some guys become abusive, and it's not really their fault. It doesn't excuse it, but it's that stuff we bottle up that's just coming out. There's a trigger, and we can't help but release it in this time, in those certain times. And so I had gotten to the point to where again I didn't want to open up to people because how do you handle this? How do you deal with this? And I didn't really know what was going on either because like I said, I don't normally have these thoughts. I don't normally have these feelings. And
When you want to keep a smile on your face, I'm sure
yeah,
you're a friendly guy. I'm that way. I don't like to show, you know, I want to put on a good face, you know, but
Exactly.
I'm definitely getting less and less, like almost zero at that. I don't care
Yeah.
anymore. But
Yeah.
you know,
And
you do first,
yeah.
and you know, yeah.
Yeah, so being a man, I had that going on. And then being on TV, like I've had commercials for it. So people, I literally got that once. So I finally, long story short, I opened up to a couple people close to me, and it backfired on me, and so that made my depression worse because I went to people who I thought I was close to, who I thought had my back, people who I had their back through numerous things, and so it was like, who do I go to? Well, I'm gonna go to somebody who I think I'm close to, and that they just essentially turned their back on me. So that sent me into a deeper depression. And then I was like, well, if I can't open up to these people, then who can I open up to? Um, so
And
it
when
got
you're
so
going
bad.
through that depression, I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but you're also battling those critical, those thoughts from your critic of, well, see, that's why I shouldn't have opened up.
exactly.
See,
Yep,
that's why. And so like
yep,
you start to get into that pattern that rumination, you
yep.
know, and that because that's what our brains do. And yeah, it makes it really hard. So
It made it
yeah,
worse.
keep going.
It made it a lot worse. Uh,
Yeah.
so I remember this night. I will never forget this night, December 31st, 2022. So the December 31st we just went through, right before the new year. I remember thinking it had got so deep and so dark. I remember thinking that I did not care if I did not see the next year, right? I didn't care if I didn't see the next day. And so I remember my daughter was safe. I remember my daughter had spent the night with one of my cousins. So I knew she was safe. I told her mother where she was. And knowing that my daughter was okay, I was like, whatever happens to me, right? That's literally the thought I had. There was I just happened to look on Facebook that night, and this guy made this post, and it was freaky. The post that he posted basically was the exact thoughts I was feeling in that moment, which was he was saying, hey, while you guys are out celebrating the new year, all that kind of stuff, just be aware that there are people who are wanting to end their lives and who feel worthless and all that kind of stuff. And whatever it said, it literally was the exact thought I was thinking in that exact moment. And so something compelled me to share that post, right?
Mm.
And that was the first time I came out publicly about what I had been battling. And I mean, my phone started blowing up, right? From that moment for the next few months. I mean, literally, my messengers started blowing up. People started commenting on that post, and my cell phone started blowing up. And I'm getting all these messages and all that kind of stuff. And I scared the crap out of people. I did, and it was a scary moment. It was legit scary
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
That coming out, that being vocal about it, and that letting people know what I was dealing with helped turn things around for me because I found support. And it's crazy. You'll get support from the unlikeliest of places.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from where you think it should come from or where you want it to come
I
from.
was going to say, and this is a great example of, you know, I have a lot of people in here, and we end up talking about support and mental health. It's just, I it it just
It's a thing.
happens,
It's a real
you know,
thing.
and
Yeah.
it's life, you know, it's
Yeah.
just about how you're dealing with life, and
Yeah.
but one thing that the theme I've seen, the common denominator is having support. And the thing about support though is you don't always have it immediately.
Right.
You don't always have it in the way that you think you're going to have it or who you're going to have it from.
Right.
But if you keep trying,
Yeah.
someone is going to respond
Right.
eventually. Just, and that's it. The fact that you shared that, you know, and I think a lot of times, you know, we do cry out for help and we don't always, you know, unfortunately catch it from people, or sometimes people have just gotten to that place where they really feel like they're done or whatever, you know, and you know, I definitely had, I can, I got a little bit just that feeling too of like, it is a very dark place too. I remember telling my mom that the moment I had was, I remember being at my mom's house and just kind of like being like, I am kind of done with life. Like I don't, I'm
Mm.
like, I'm just, you know, I feel I'm good. like,
Yeah.
kind of feeling the same way, like really don't care what happens to me at
Right.
this point, but you know, people people even you don't know care about you,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know. And I'm sure you found that. And I've,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of things I've gone through in my life, I found support from people that I had no idea even paid attention or
Yep.
cared.
Yep.
And then other people who I thought really cared, I never heard a word from, which is
Yep.
fine, no judgment, but
Right.
you just take and receive, but it does take being vulnerable, and letting people get scared
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a
Well,
scary place.
I found that through that, when a lot of people open up to me, they have been battling the same things. So when they saw me reach out, cry out for help, they knew I got to get a hold of that guy, because they've been there and they know if you don't get any support, the seeds are there, the thoughts are there. Why am I here? Would anybody miss me if I'm gone?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. The seeds are there, so it doesn't take much more to push you over that edge. And so when people see those signs and they've been there, they can relate to that. Hey, let me call them. Let me let them know. No, you matter. You
Hmm.
matter. Hey, just so you know, I've been paying attention. I might not like your post. You might not see me, but I'm watching everything you're doing.
Right.
And the people were literally going down a list and telling me about all this. I never knew they paid attention, but they could tell me for years stuff I've done. I was like, wow, I
It's
didn't even know you paid
amazing.
attention to me.
Hmm.
So finding out that you do matter to people, maybe not to the
Yeah.
people you want to matter to, which is still hard to
Yeah.
digest. But finding out that you do matter to some people are, you are inspiring some people. A lot of people reached out to me and said the bond between me and my daughter, the relationship me and her have, the TikToks we make, me bringing her to Channel 5 for the interview we did last week, that touches a lot of people, and I didn't realize that until I came out about depression. I realized that my story, that people have been watching me and I'm inspiring people, and I didn't
Hmm.
realize that. I didn't know that. But knowing that, people showing me, no, we care about you. We're watching you. You're inspiring us. You're motivating us. Seeing your story, it gave me purpose. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't have. I felt like I lacked purpose. So therefore, why am I here? If I'm not worth anything, I felt worthless. But now I feel worthy. Now I feel like I have a purpose. I have something to live for. I have something to. There's a reason why, I should keep going and posting
It's
this and posting that.
amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It's just
that was
good
the
to hear
step.
you say that too,
Yeah.
and because the more we can repeat that to ourselves,
Right.
yeah, the other, man,
That's a deep
and
one.
that's a lot to go through too,
It
just
is.
kind of like all of a sudden, and
It is.
but it sounds like too that you're somebody who has always been willing to take some risks, and not maybe like always okay with the status quo,
Yeah.
and I think that your mentality, I love that you're helping dads, because like I mean a lot of times I relate to moms, because
Right.
I'm a mom, so
Yeah.
but what I like about your approach and your group, that it's all about that. It's all about the support.
Yeah.
And it's also what I hear is it's really just about being a parent,
Yeah.
and that's kind of because I also, work with my kid's dad on, their life. It's important to me that they have a good relationship with their dad, just like I want them to have a good relationship with me. And, I didn't grow up with that mentality
Hmm.
at all,
Hmm.
but I made it pretty clear to my family after, we got divorced that this is what I want,
Right.
and maybe it doesn't look like it right now,
Right.
but I'm going to do everything I can to, foster that relationship, especially
Because it should be about the
somebody who's
kids.
willing.
Yeah, it should be about the
We
kids.
didn't work out, but he's willing and
Right.
wanting to be a
Right.
father.
Right.
So why would I strip that from a
Right.
person?
Right.
Father or mother, parent.
Right.
You know, it is our job to parent our kids,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and so I
But
really,
unfortunately, too, there's so many instances where people don't think like that.
yeah.
That's the bad part. That's where it gets ugly and where it gets bad, where people don't think like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and that's where, I have friends. I mean, my last counseling session that I had, one of the things we talked about is human relationships are messy, so I have a lot of friendships, and maybe their co-parenting relationship isn't as, like it doesn't flow as well, and that's when you go back to what choices do you have? Because you can't control another person or get another person to change or take accountability, anything like that. But what you can do is be very clear and direct about needs, be very, and things like that. But that is really hard. And I'm very grateful because it's part of why I want to do this podcast, why I do this podcast though, is so people can hear other people's stories and see that there's other ways,
Yeah.
and that it's still messy. It's still
Right.
not easy. It's still hard. It's still
Right.
work,
Right.
but you get to choose the work. It's just like working out, it's going to hurt whether you sit down and stay sedentary
Right.
for years and don't move your body. Eventually that's going to hurt. You're
Right.
going to have physical pain. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna be sore if you lift some weights,
Right.
choose your pain,
Right.
which way do you
Choose
want to
your
go?
hard. Choose your
Choose
hard.
your hard,
Yep.
which hard are you
Yep.
gonna choose,
Yep.
So I really have gotten to the point where I'm trying to just tell myself, what choices do I have? Because that's all I have control over,
Right. Right.
and yeah, so
And
I
that
don't
was,
know.
and that, like you said, touching on that series I did, Fridays for Fathers. That it's just the society. I see posts and memes about dads not being able to handle kids as well as mothers and stuff like that. And so, which I completely disagree with. And nothing, mothers are amazing. I grew up, just my background, and part of the reason why I think I'm the father I am is I grew up without a father. So I grew up in a single parent household. So even though I didn't want kids, I knew I knew what that felt like.
You
And
knew
so
what you didn't want to be.
I did not want to be that dad. Yeah. I
Yeah.
knew that if I ever had kids, I would do everything in my power to be active and involved and so forth and so on. But so you take me for example, right? I'm a single. I consider myself a single dad. Now, obviously, my daughter's mother is around, and we split the week and all that kind of stuff, and we share responsibilities, so forth and so on. But in my household, I do the cooking, I do the cleaning, I do my daughter's hair before school. I do her homework when she gets home from school. I get her in bed. I make sure she bathes. I make sure she eats. I pay all the bills, all the household stuff. I do all that in my household. So, that notion that dads, I see it, dads would fold in a single mother's position. And no, that's not true. There's a bunch of us that, we're just as capable as mothers of raising kids. So just that notion just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And that was my whole point of doing that Fridays for Father series. It was to show dads, to just show appreciation. Like literally, I would just say thank you for being a dad, and there would be fathers that would message me and said thank you for saying that. Like nobody's ever thanked me for being a father. Like, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of fathers that have so many responsibilities, so much pressure on them, but there's a lot of fathers that don't feel appreciated, you know? But instinctively as dads, we do what we do. We handle our business.
Yeah.
Just that lack of appreciation. I mean, it's like I said, we don't do anything for the accolades. We don't do anything for the pat on the back, but it's just nice for people to recognize your hard work, recognize your sacrifices. And so me being a father and reaching out to other fathers saying, hey, I see you. Like, I know the sacrifices you make because I make those same sacrifices. I know how you don't feel appreciated because there's a lot of moments where I don't feel appreciated. I know how people look at you and think because you're the dad that you can't handle certain situations, or, that because, we see all this stuff that gets slighted toward the mothers. The mothers get a ton of support, rightfully so, you know, because like I said, I came from a household where my mom raised the 3 kids by herself. So
Yeah.
I see it. And I got a lot of respect for single mothers, but dad should get that same respect. You know, we get beat up if we're not around, we get called deadbeat and all that kind of stuff. But when we do show up and do what we're supposed to do, it's still like damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know, type thing.
Yeah.
So
And I hope that's changing too. And I
I
think it
hope
is.
so.
You know, I think
Yeah.
that like, I mean, I know that I know that there's so much going on right now. It's kind of funny because it made me kind of think of like the Barbie movie. I
I
don't know if
haven't
you've
seen it
seen
yet.
it.
I haven't seen
It's
it
so good. It's so
yet.
good.
Of
And
course,
it
you would
does
say
talk
that. You're a
about,
woman. You would say that.
well, listen, okay, but let me tell you, okay? So
All
it
right.
does talk about women a lot,
Right.
but I think if you can take that bird's eye view, like they do tell the man's side as well. Like
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about of
Yeah.
like if you are vulnerable, if you're romantic, if you're, you know, out there doing all these things, then you're looked at as weak,
Yeah.
as, oh, well, this person could be walked all over. And
Right.
that, so there, that it's that yin and yang, you know,
Right.
I really believe in that. I really believe that, you know, as in, and I'm talking here in like normal, like hetero situations, you know,
Right.
that's what I am. So I
For
can't
sure.
speak to any other experience. I know
Right.
there's other experiences out there, but
Right.
this is the experience that I'm talking about. And
Yep.
so like, you know, with that yin and yang, it's the masculine and feminine. And I really think it's important as women to maybe try to, you know, one of the books I just got done reading is Fierce Self-Compassion. And it's about women kind of harnessing, you know, that no, your anger, not being afraid of anger, you know,
Mhm.
not, but kind of like with men, instead of bottling that in and what
Mhm.
goes out in this unproductive way, because
Right.
we're not taught how to be angry as women,
Right.
then that doesn't, it doesn't work, you know.
Right.
And like on the flip side, men with the being vulnerable, you know, it's going to take some practice, but I hope, I think that people are, men and women in these hetero situations and just in life in general as humans, are trying to understand each other better in these ways, and understand first themselves in these
Right.
ways, and challenge themselves to be more powerful, more vulnerable, you know, and not project so much on
Right.
the people around us, especially our partners or the people we're trying to raise kids with, you
Right.
know,
Yeah. You
and
know, another challenge
that
with that.
appreciation, you
Yeah.
know.
Another challenge with that is I think something you kind of hinted at, and obviously we have to be careful how we walk this line. But you know, nothing like you said, nothing against other communities out there. But those, you know, those gender lines have been blurred so much now to where, like you said, as a heterosexual men, you know, there's that challenge as well of, you know, trying to maintain our masculinity in some ways, so that, you know, we're not confused with you know, the
Yeah,
other,
I get what you're
you know
saying.
where I'm trying to go. Yeah,
And it doesn't help because those jokes happen a lot,
they
especially with
do.
dads stepping up to the plate of
Yeah,
doing their daughter's hair and things like that. And I
yeah,
really just think that's like so lame,
yeah,
honestly. And
yeah.
like,
And you know, real quick. So to that
I don't
point,
know. I like comedy. Like I'm
yeah,
totally into comedy and stuff like that. But like I don't really find it super funny. Like, you know,
right.
yeah, I just don't, I
You know,
guess.
to that point, I honestly, so I was one of those guys. I thought that was, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. No, no, please don't judge me. But I was
Don't judge me. Like
before I had
I
my
grew up in
daughter.
a Christian community church,
Yeah,
so like I had my own thoughts
yeah,
that
me too.
changed
Me
a
too.
long time ago. I can say that at least.
Me too. Well, I had that before I had my daughter. I did have the thought that it was feminine of a guy to do his daughter's hair. That again, that was that was an ignorant me before I had my kid. And then once I had my daughter, excuse me, obviously I realized that no, you do what you do. You do what you got to do as a dad. You know what do you do when your daughter's hair needs to be done, and you know, the mother, you don't have a mother in the household, you know. What you gonna do? Just have your daughter go to school, just hair all over the place? Nah,
Yeah.
you gotta handle that now, you know. And so you know, life experience has taught me that I had an ignorant mentality prior to becoming a parent. And so, but again, that stemmed from somewhere, you know, like I said, I think that was just how society had
Yeah. Well, and how
warped our
you grow up,
minds, you
you
know.
know, I mean, one of the things too that, you know, I grew up with was, you know, kind of like, yeah, you know, just about those shared duties and things like that, you know. And now my mom was a single mom too, so like I also grew up, you know, having a single mom, and I did like I did experience in 8th grade like having a consistent like stepdad in the house until I graduated high school. But you know, I was in 8th grade, so like at that point, you know, I was, you know, already kind of
It's
going
pretty much
about
big,
life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but it was nice to like have him, and like he made a huge impact on my life, you know.
Nice,
and
nice,
and you know, yeah, he treated me like a daughter for the 12
nice.
years that we had him, you know. He
Yeah,
passed away. So like,
sorry to hear
but
that.
um, but I mean, I didn't grow up, even though I saw all these examples of like relationships, I saw these power dynamics. I never really knew like which was the right one, you know. And now when I'm really coming, you know, to it, it's really about um not having a power dynamic, you know.
Right,
And and yeah, be willing to do, you know, do the job of raising a child, both people, like you said, you know, not every, and realizing each other's strong suits, you know. And it's a little bit different, like you said, like you know, we split households too, so I, you know, do, you know, all the things for my kiddos while they're with me, and
right.
he does it though when they're with him, you know. And I I don't know, yeah, I think that there definitely needs to be just, if you've got something, you know, if you, I don't know, less, I guess if you've got a good flow and you've got, show that appreciation. And that's something I'm getting from this. I really, you know, honestly, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'm the best at, you know, just, but yeah, just showing that, just saying it, saying, hey, I appreciate that you are present, you
Yep,
know. And
yep,
so I appreciate you bringing
yep.
that to light, because it is something important to do. I think that, you know, as a woman, I've got my girlfriends
Right,
cheering me on.
right,
Okay. I'm not gonna,
right,
you know, they tell me I'm a good mom, you know, I
right,
try my best. I know I'm trying hard.
right.
And I can see where, I can imagine how lonely it might feel as a dad when you know you're putting in the work,
Yep,
but there isn't all this accolade, like you
right, for
said. Like
sure.
maybe, like, because for men, I don't know about how men are, but like when women are together, you know, if I'm talking about my kids, like even though my girlfriends don't all have kids, they might be like, oh, they'll encourage me. They'll say like, "Oh, you're a good mom." I don't know if guys do that. I have no idea. I know guys are way more honest, you know,
Yep,
and
right,
they might be like, "Suck it up, dude," or I have no
right,
idea.
yep.
No idea what it's
No,
like.
that's pretty much what it is. Like,
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I can imagine that's
yeah,
how it would be,
yeah,
because
yeah.
because
Yeah,
the guys,
I mean, you know,
you know,
yeah,
you
we
roast
don't,
each other versus like being like, you got this. It's
right,
okay. I'm here for
right.
you. Like, yeah.
And you know, women, obviously, naturally, you guys are more nurturing,
Yes.
uh, whereas, like you say, as guys, we're just kind of like, hey, we don't think to when to that extent to say, hey, man, you're doing a good job as a dad, until we see somebody maybe struggling, stuff like that. But for the most part, we don't get that a lot, but we don't think to do that. We don't think to say to our homeboys, hey man, you're doing a good job as a dad, on a regular basis. We might say it like on a birthday or a graduation and stuff like that, but we don't think to say that on a regular basis. And so to your point, we don't get that a lot, you know. And I like I said, I think that's why I got the response I got when I started doing those videos where dads were like, I don't hear that. Nobody ever thanks me for being a dad, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, you know, that type thing. And so again, I think that's why it touched so many people.
Yeah. Well, and you definitely stand out. Like, last year, our kid, we didn't, it was the first year that, my son was at the school and,
Yeah, and dancing
so
and stuff.
yeah, I know. It's great. It's great. But yeah, and just, yeah, so always seeing you there and participating, and I think it's great. And I feel like we just touched the surface, honestly. Like, I
Oh,
don't feel like I
yeah,
wanted to get deeper. I usually go a little bit deeper in your background too,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but no, you brought that up too. I really appreciate you
I'm about
bringing
to say
up
you
your
can have me come on another time. We can talk another time for sure.
yeah. But no, I do appreciate you bringing up like your motivation of not of why, it was important to you to be that present father,
Yeah,
because we all do come from our experiences. That's where we
right.
come from.
Exactly.
And again, it
That's
goes
what
back to
molds
that
us.
choice. Yeah, what are we going to do with that?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, okay, you've got so much going on. I
A
know you
lot.
said a little bit, but I
A lot.
go like where can people follow you? Where
Yeah.
can people hit up your shows?
Yeah.
And then when is your TV show coming out again? And how do people watch that?
Okay, so obviously, I mean, you can find me pretty much anywhere. You know, on Facebook, just search my name, LoRay Easterwood. On Instagram, my handle is at the real LoRay. Fake LoRays out there, so I had to make sure I was the real one. Not playing, but it's at at the real LoRay on Instagram. TikTok is LoRay at LoRay Father Realtor on TikTok. Getting a lot of love on there because that's where me and my daughter do a lot of stuff. So yeah, you just follow me on there. My email, LoRay at listwithloray.com. People can email me. Another thing I'm doing is I got this program I just signed on to do monthly reports for homeowners. So it just kind of gives them an idea of value of their house. If they have equity in their house, what they can do, options they can utilize with that equity. So I've had a lot of homeowners reach out to me about that. So people can email me, email me their property address and their email, and I could get them set up on that. But yeah, my email, my phone number, 913-952-4203 is plastered everywhere, plastered all on the commercials. It'll be on the show, all that kind of stuff. So people can call me, text me, whatever. But yeah, just follow me on those social handles. I'll announce it soon. Like I said, I don't know the exact date yet, but when it happens, I'll announce it on there, obviously on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And yeah, it's called The American Dream. Like I said, it's an Emmy nominated show about lifestyle, culture, real estate. I just got a thing from the TV show, an email showing that last month alone, the show got 33 million views on
Wow.
social media and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's growing in popularity. It's been around for a few years and it's growing in popularity. I said there's cable views, all that kind of stuff. So it's an honor to be selected. I'm one of a handful of people here in this city, in this metro area, to be selected. So it's an honor to be selected. It's an honor that all these TV opportunities keep coming my way. There's more TV opportunities, things I'm gonna be doing. So a lot of exciting stuff going on right now.
Yeah. I really thank you for sharing that. And I really do want to stress how appreciative and for you just opening up.
Yeah,
We don't know each other that well. We were
right.
getting to know each other, and
Sure.
but I'm just reflecting a little bit about kind of what you shared, and I just think it's so important, and especially for men. I don't think, depression is talked about enough, in your community, and so I really appreciate that. And it's also just really cool to see that despite some of the adversities you've come across, that you know, it's good to see that life does keep going.
Oh, for
Life
sure.
is the opportunity is there, and there's still so much life to be had.
Right.
So if anybody questions that, I would, want them to check you out
Oh,
as,
definitely.
it's one of those things. And it's also good to see that just because, you know, I'm a person, I smile a lot, you smile a lot. It's one of the things, you know, that you do light up a room. And
Right.
but just because you light up a room doesn't mean that you're always okay, you
Right.
know. And so to
Right.
remember that for people too.
Right.
So,
For sure.
but well, thank you so much
Oh,
for
thank
taking
you.
time
Thank you
out
for having
tonight.
me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. I'll see you in the car line or
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
for sure. We'll,
Cool.
we'll run into each other for sure. Well, you got my
Yeah.
contact info now, so you know we
Yeah.
can run into each other and everything like that. Keep in contact, so forth and so on.
Totally. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
night.
much. I appreciate it. See you later.
Bye.
All right.